Welcome back, Braves country, to the fifth episode of Bloopers Brigade. I am your host, Chase Irle, with my co-host, as always, Jake Gordon. We don't have a guest for you, but honestly, Jake is kind of the guest for this episode, as he broke more Marcell Ozuna news this morning, because I'm going to release this tonight. So, yeah, he broke it this morning. Big news. So, Jake, why don't you break it down for us?
I will. First of all, you literally just asked me if this was the fourth or fifth episode, and you said fifth, but this is the fourth episode. You guys didn't
Oh,
miss
did I?
it. Yeah, it's
I
me.
have it on my card as 5, and then on here it says 4. Whatever.
Oh, yeah, I see that now. So it looks like Marcell Ozuna is going to enter into a diversion program. He's going to have to take some anger management classes. He's going to have to do some counseling, go and undergo a psychological evaluation, community service. There's a lot of stipulations for this, but if you look at what we originally thought was going to happen, Marcell Ozuna got a pretty sweet deal. I don't know if he pled guilty. We still have a lot more questions than answers. I don't know if he pled guilty. That's kind of typical of something like this in a diversion program. He may have pled nolo contendere. He may have not pled. He may have pled not guilty. He may have not entered a plea at all. But the fact of the matter is, Marcell Ozuna can be cleared in up to 3 months. His next court date is in January, and we're looking at a real reality where Marcell Ozuna is cleared to play baseball within a year. He's still going to be suspended by Major League Baseball. I have no doubt about that. How long that suspension will be, if it'll be retroactive, just some questions that we don't have answers to. But it's I hate to put it this way, but today was a big win for Marcell Ozuna. He stayed out of jail. He seemed to get off fairly easy, at least in my opinion. But I'm glad he's going to counseling. I'm glad that he's getting some help because obviously, their family situation isn't great. His wife's been arrested for domestic violence against him before, and it's a very serious subject. So hopefully this is something that helps him out and he can, come out a better person. I don't know if he'll be playing for the Braves. I don't know if he'll be playing at all. But some things are bigger than sports, man.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll get into kind of what I think the best course of action for the Braves in a minute. But talking about like when do we think Marcell Ozuna will be eligible to play again? Because, like you said, we don't know all the details still yet. I imagine this might, speed up the process and getting him on the restricted list. Since it does look like he pled guilty or to something, like he admitted some sort of guilt. So maybe he gets on the restricted list, which might like mean this if like we're talking about retroactive things, it might mean it starts right now, which means if it's only an 80-game suspension, he will be back well before the All-Star break in 2022. Let's say it starts at the beginning of next season, which I think could be likely. I mean, he's still back before the All-Star break. I don't think you're going to see anything ridiculous. I mean, I think 81 games. Have we seen 162 game suspension? I think we
162
have
was the
one.
longest, and I think the guy was a repeat offender. I think it was the second
Yes.
time.
So I mean, I think we're looking at at most like a half season suspension once this is all said and done. And if that police video doesn't come out, and this is all the information we know, as far as we know, I think he's still with his family. I think him and his wife are back together, which obviously looks better on him. We're not going to know much more outside of that. If he gives a public apology, this is one of those things that whether we like it or not, and is just how sports is because it's become so big, it's become bigger than a lot of the law almost in a lot of cases, where if nothing else really comes back, it almost feels like this gets swept under the rug. He gives a public apology maybe. And if he doesn't, do anything else, I mean, he's back on the field before the All-Star break next year. Now, the question is is he back on the field for the Braves? I think that's a much more difficult question to answer because even though, Liberty Media is a publicly owned company, the Braves have a reputation for really not messing with a lot of these situations. They're kind of when things get messy, let's, stay out of it or get out of it the best we can. Remember Hector Oliveira? Obviously, that was a little more intense, but I think that's the bigger question here is what happens with the Braves. Personally, if I want to talk about my course of action, I think you have 3 options. You release them and you take the $65 million, hit or, $53 million after this year, which is what is remaining for the next 3 years on his contract. You let him wait out the suspension and then you play him or you trade him. You got 3 options. I think personally the best course for the Braves for their brand and everything would be to trade him. They might have to attach a prospect. They might have to eat some of that money. But at the end of the day, I think Marcell Ozuna, if nothing else comes out, is going to play again. I think teams will be willing to give away bad contracts in exchange for him. And I think that's something that the Braves are going to be interested in doing.
Yeah, and I'm not condoning this, but there are people who are currently playing professional sports that have done things far worse than Marcell Ozuna has done. I'm not going to get into naming names, so there's really no point. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality of it. And, you can argue that it's right or wrong, and you're entitled to that opinion, but that's just the reality of it. He's likely to play somewhere. The thing is, you talk about the Braves just eating that money and cutting ties. I don't see that happening.
I think that's the most unrealistic.
I think it is too. I think he'll either play here or play somewhere else, and maybe someone else will take him. Maybe maybe you look at you think of a team like the Dodgers. They have their own mess right now. They don't want to take on something like that. But maybe a team that is either not very good and hoping to catch lightning in a bottle and get a prospect and for cheap, willing to take that PR hit, or a contending team that is basically just saying we really don't care, and they'll take the prospect and a lower cap hit. But I think if the Braves can trade him, it's a massive win. You see how well Jorge Soler's played. You see how well Adam Duvall has played. Jock Peterson's played well. Eddie Rosario's played well. If you bring back a couple of those guys, I mean, there's just no point in putting up with the headache. And he's not going to be received well by fans. So I think at a certain point, you got to cut ties somehow. I just don't know if they're just going to straight up cut him like a lot of people want. I just don't think they're going to. I don't think they're going to do that.
Yeah. I don't think so either. I think it's definitely going to be some sort of trade. I mean, there could be a team out there that is kind of tanking, so they're looking for a good prospect, and they're willing to eat the money on Ozuna's contract and just release him. If they know they're rebuilding. That's something the Braves kind of did when they were rebuilding. They ate a lot of money and just got top prospects. That's how they got Tupi Toussaint. Obviously, the situations are different, but if Marcell Ozuna, if the team that acquires Marcell Ozuna is just willing to eat the money and throw him away and take a couple prospects, that's something that we could see. It really depends if anything else comes on, because I do think Marcell Ozuna still has value, and I don't think he's going to be released. And I do think if nothing else comes out, this is a public apology. Put my head down, get what I need to get done as far as this plea deal or whatever this is. And I think it's something that probably gets forgotten about by 99% of the people around the league and 95% of Braves fans. And I hate to say this because I wasn't really old enough to give out judgment, but this isn't like something new. I mean, Bobby Cox had something similar, and the guy is beloved in Braves country. So obviously I wasn't around during that time. I don't know the exact details, but I mean, it's just kind of one of those things where a lot of these things get forgotten. I mean, and it's throughout sports, and they'll be beloved as long as they stay on the straight and narrow. So hopefully Marcell Ozuna gets the help that he can get, and things move forward, and the Braves are able to either trade him or he is a productive player. I mean, we'll see how it is. A lot of moving parts, but a lot of interesting news today. So we'll see.
I will say, let me address this too, because a lot of people have asked me. As far as voiding his contract, that's just not going to happen. Especially now that he's not even facing felony charges. And keep in mind, once he finishes this program, his charges will just be straight up dismissed. They will be done away with. That's not going to happen. Unless something comes in with a new collective bargaining agreement, which would be a massive and absolutely massive change, because we're talking about a guy that's not even facing felony charges anymore. Like I said, I'm not saying what he did was right, but that's just not going to happen. His contract is not getting voided.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And I don't even think a new collective bargaining agreement would be able to void his contract.
Yeah, it probably grandfathered in.
Because the contract was before then. So, it's a disappointing situation. I do have no idea. I can't tell you anything if he's ever going to play for the Braves anymore. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of news, and I'm sure Jake will have the updates. But like you said, big win for Marcell Ozuna. And another big winner of the weekend or this week has been Charlie Morton. He gets a $20 million extension, which I think everybody in Braves country was ecstatic about. I know I had a few tweeters that were like, wow, he's 38 years old. I'm like, listen, have you seen what Morton has done? His best part of his career has been from 31 to 37. And if you look at the numbers, this is one of his best years he's ever had. And that's including kind of a rough start that he had. I mean, the guy's just Mr. Consistent. He's never throwing a shutout, but it's like always 6-7 innings, 1-2 runs. And he's just a beast. And the eye test is unbelievable. He's still pumping it out 98 at times. And he's got one of the nastiest curveballs in all of baseball. I mean, I'm thrilled with this deal. So glad to have him locked in. And it really, you look at that 22 rotation with him in it, it's nasty.
Yeah, and Charlie Morton, bringing him back was great. Really love the contract, and you even get the extra year of the team option. So if he comes out and does this again, and you decide, hey, let's give it one more run, there you go. He's under team control, and I think he's going to be effective next year. Is he going to be the most dominant pitcher in the league? Probably not. But if he can give us what he's giving us right now for $20 million next year, yeah, sign me up.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't even have to give us what he's given us, but I see no signs of him slowing down. I mean, he's pitching his best baseball right now at this point in his career that he ever has. His WHIP, I mean, he has like a 3.4 ERA, but his FIP is a 3.29, which is even better, suggesting some poor luck. And on top of that, lowest WHIP of his career, he's still striking almost 11 batters per nine. I mean, these are just as good as the numbers when he was like finished second in the Cy Young race. I mean, and the eye test, like I said, is even more exciting because it's incredible. No, I mean, no, not because he's handsome. He did not. Unfortunately, he got no votes on the Braves handsome meter from the fans when we did that poll.
He should have got some, I think so. But I hear what you're saying. And that's the thing with Charlie too. He's a makeup guy. Like he's got a sinker, he's got a good four-seam fastball, he's got the changeup, he's got the curveball. Like he has such a good mix of pitches, and he's so crafty as a veteran. Even if his velocity does start to tick down a little bit, which it hasn't at 38, I think he's still going to be effective.
Yeah, I have full faith. I think he's going to be here for 2 more years, unless he just decides to hang it up. I don't think he's going to, or gets injured, which obviously when you're talking about a 38-year-old is a big deal. But I mean, dude, Morton hasn't missed a start this year either. I mean, he has just gone along and just gotten better every start out. So I have a question. I already did an article on this. We haven't posted on the site yet. But if it's game one, who are you giving the ball to? Max Fried or Charlie Morton? Morton kind of has the better underlying statistics, but Max Fried, since he's come back from the IL, has been arguably one of the best pitchers in baseball, sub-3 ERA. And the team just seems to always find a win when he's on the mound. Plus, you got to love that bulldog mentality that Fried has. So I'm kind of torn. I will say Morton just simply because I think the eye test, his stuff is better, and he's obviously a veteran. But I at this point, Fried has 12 playoff appearances, 4 starts, and he's been great in the playoffs too. So I wouldn't mind seeing him out there.
Yeah, and here's one thing: Charlie Morton's got one of these. He
yeah. I mean, he closed a World Series game. He closed Game 7 of the World Series. So there's obviously he obviously doesn't feel the pressure. He's a veteran. But I mean, if you think about the best performances from Max Fried in his playoff career, they were both against the Dodgers. I think he had a 2.84 ERA over 2 starts in the NLCS last year. I mean, and that guy doesn't blink. His first taste of playoff action went also against the Dodgers out of the bullpen, and I think he pitched like 4 scoreless innings in all 4 games in that series. So, I mean, Fried's the guy. Both of these guys don't blink. That's not what I'm worried about. But I'm just telling you, dude, something about Morton's stuff. Every time he's on the mound, I'm like, damn. Like, how do people hit that? I mean, he's throwing 98, and that 4-seam fastball is moving 6 inches to the right.
Yeah.
And his curveball is as nasty as any in the game. So, and Fried's similar. I mean, he's got a movement fastball, and he's, relies on that curveball a ton. But I think I'm leaning toward Morton, but I kind of call it the competition within the competition of this playoff race down the stretch. Who do you go to, Fried or Morton? And whoever pitches the better over the last 3 weeks, I think that's probably who gets the ball in game 1.
Yeah. Oh, I got to shoehorn in a real quick, just stop tweeting. I don't remember the guy's name. I don't really care. The guy who said that Ian Anderson was not a sure thing and he is not a lock for the rotation next year. Great take, man.
Yeah, that's pretty unbelievable considering the guy had a sub-2 ERA and it's obviously brief, like
a sub-1 ERA in the playoffs.
Yeah, but a sub-1 ERA in the playoffs. And then he's been, Mr. Consistent, has like a 3.4 ERA this year over a full season. So that's pretty shocking. There's some people worried about Anderson, I guess because he hasn't been striking out as many since he came back. I'm not worried. I was at
that Giants game Sunday, and he was shutting them down.
Yeah. I mean, the guy gave up 4 singles that game against one of the best offenses in baseball. Okay, he gets rocked in Coors in his second start back. I mean, not even really rocked. I think he gave up 4 runs over 3 innings. Like, we're gonna panic after that.
Baseball at home. Best team in baseball.
I mean, they're hard to beat at home, and everyone gets rocked in that stadium.
Exactly.
So we had some more news. It wasn't just all Marcell Ozuna. John Heyman MLB Network, MLB Insider, broke some news about Freddie Freeman hitting the open market. He said it's likely that he hits the open market as a free agent, unrestricted free agent this offseason. There's still a big gap, and there's still, there's been negotiations, but there's a big gap. I think the biggest thing that I read from that is there's been negotiations, because we've heard from Freddie consistently this whole season. Oh, I haven't even been contacted. I haven't been contacted. I'm like, there's no way that's true. There is absolutely 0% chance that that's true. And I think Heyman kind of proved that with this tweet. There's definitely been negotiations. I do believe there's a gap, but this could also be kind of a ploy from Freeman's agents to kind of get, the Braves to move forward. He might see them signing d'Arnaud, might see him signing Morton and thinking like, hey, man, let's get this thing locked up now.
Yeah, I don't know who authored this take. I think it was the Baltimore Braves fan, whoever that guy is. But he hit the nail on the head. You're not giving Charlie Morton $20 million without a plan for Freddie Freeman. There's just no way. I don't believe that at all. And if you do, God rest your soul, because his fan base is going to tear you to pieces. And that's no disrespect to Charlie Morton. That's just how it is. So I have full faith that it'll get done. I don't think Freddie wants to go anywhere, but like you said, I think this is all part of the chess match. This is all part of the negotiation, and I think something gets worked out.
Yeah, and no one is like more involved in that chess match than John Heyman. Like if he's tweeting something, there's usually another angle there, and it's usually agent related. That's kind of who he's in bed with. So there's no one more sketchy when those things come up. So I wouldn't be surprised if next week it just comes out like, oh, Freddie Freeman inked his $175 million deals over 5-6 years, whatever it is. Heyman also mentioned the Goldschmidt contract, 5 years, $130 million. I think that's so light. Like, I don't know why. That sounds so light to me. It sounds so light to me. But then I looked at Paul Goldschmidt's situation 3 years ago when he signed it, and it was pretty similar. I mean, Goldschmidt was like a top 5 MVP candidate for 3 or 4 years in a row. He was like five-time All-Star, entering his age 31, 32 season. So pretty similar situations of Freddie this year. I still think Freddie gets more because he just has, he has that MVP that he won 2 years ago. He's just been so consistent. Last year. I'm thinking not including this season. I'm assuming he's not going to win this year. But he just has more accolades. They've been on a more successful team. He means more to the franchise. I just think he has a better reputation than Goldschmidt does for some reason, maybe because the Braves get more national recognition. So I think if he hits the open market, he has to be getting closer to $200 million, right? Over over 5 years, but I think it's 6 or 7 over $200 million, because his game, he doesn't have the game that's going to just fizzle out. Like he loses some power, he'll do what Chipper did and hit 330. Like that's just who Freddie is.
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think I can't remember. I think I said 190, something along those lines. I don't know if that was higher or lower, but I think that's what I said, like 190, and I think that's fair for both sides.
Yeah, I mean,
you have Ronald Acuna and Ozzy Albies on the 2 best contracts.
Exactly. And maybe there's something there. The Braves are trying to get Freeman's contract to align with the end of those contracts of Albies and Acuna, which that makes sense. Maybe you only want to give them those 6 years because, when year 7 comes, Albies and Acuna are going to be asking for some massive extensions. And while I don't think the Braves are going to be able to re-sign both of them, re-signing one of them has to be a top priority when those come around. And that's probably going to be Ronald Acuna, as much as we love Ozzy Albies. But, it's the nature of the beast. You can't keep everyone, especially when you have an uncapped league like the MLB, and we have tight, pocketed owners. So I think that could be maybe why things are holding up. But eventually I think this thing gets done. It would be devastating to everything the Braves are trying to do. You look at their 2022 roster with Freeman and Acuna back. I mean, they're loaded. I mean, they are right there with the Dodgers. They have everything they could possibly want. You add maybe 1 or 2 bullpen pieces this offseason, which they should be able to do easily. They're so loaded, but all that comes crashing down if you let Freddie Freeman walk out that door. And not just from a team standpoint, the Braves would still be good, probably the favorites to win the East, one of the favorites to win the NFL, or the NFL. Hey, NFL football is starting. The NL, but for what Freeman brings from a locker room perspective, like letting a guy like that just have to bring the whole morale of the team down. That's what I believe. You just can't let that guy go.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. I'm not worried.
I'm not either. I know even if he hits unrestricted free agent, it's obviously just to test the waters and push the Braves offer up, which is really a smart deal for him. unless he gets injured over the next 25 games, there's no reason for Freeman not to listen to everybody's offers. If I was an MLB player or any sports player, unrestricted free agency when I'm coming off 2 of my best years of my career is a dream. So I would like to hear everyone's offers. And then you can go to the Braves and be like, oh, the Yankees offered me 220. Like, how about 200? I think there is a hometown discount out there, but it's not going to be ridiculous. Like, if we lowball him, he will walk. I think that's kind of where we're at right now. It's just like, when are the Braves going to give him what he wants? Hopefully it's before the season ends, but according to Heyman, he doesn't seem likely.
Look, I mean, how many times have we played this game? Played the Alex Anthopoulos, what are you doing? Like, you have no idea. Like, he'll figure it out. I have faith that he'll figure it out.
Yeah, you just, like you said, you don't re-sign guys like Travis d'Arnaud and Charlie Morton if you're going to let Freddie Freeman walk. You don't give them $27 million. That doesn't make any sense. So I agree. I think he's going to be back. But speaking of Freddie Freeman, we had a little debacle last night with the Washington high school team, I like to call them. They hit Freddie after Will Smith hit Juan Soto the night before. It was obvious it was retaliation, very Bush League, especially after they threw behind his head the first pitch, which if you're going to hit him, fine. Do not hit him above the hip, which is where the second ball hit him. But I think the interesting part of all of this was Freddie Freeman's reaction. After the inning, he goes and hugs Juan Soto. He goes and talks to Davey Martinez. He kind of tells the Braves piece, says Will Smith didn't do it intentionally, which I don't know if I necessarily agree with. Will Smith kind of seems to have a temper tantrum on the mound every time he faces Juan Soto for whatever reason. I've never really had a problem with Soto. But and then he basically said, hey, it was kind of Bush League that you threw at me twice. If you do it once, you can't, you shouldn't do it again. Nothing really there, but just seeing like Freddie kind of the way he handles everything, it's like, dude, lifetime contract. It's just another thing, man. Like, that could have gotten messy. That really could have gotten messy because obviously they threw at our best player who's so unproblematic, which is a bad thing to do, I think, if you're the Nationals. But they're not involved in a playoff race like we are.
Exactly. So that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, it could have been a huge just mess for absolutely no reason, especially with the series ending tomorrow. And I think that's the last time we play them all year. So, I mean, they could do something really nasty tonight. But when you have a guy like Freeman realizing the situation, go up to their best player, go up to their manager, and just kind of cooling everything down. I mean, unproblematic king. Like, what a job by Freddie Freeman. And he probably saved, the Braves for some unnecessary festivities tonight.
You can't be throwing elbows with a team that's pretty much in dead last when 25 games left with Philly on your tail. Like, you can't be doing that.
Yeah, I mean, they have nothing to lose. It's like fighting a kid who has nothing to lose. They don't give a shit at all.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to be throwing haymakers, and it's like, oh man, this guy's a little psycho. Like, I didn't realize you were about that life that much.
It's like if a homeless guy comes up to you like in the street and like gets in your face and like you have like a job and like a life, and it's just like,
yeah. And it's like, this guy could be like carrying a knife. Like, he doesn't give a shit if you die. Like, they don't even know his name. His name's not even in the database. Like, he's going to kill this random dude and just walk away scot-free. Like, he just has nothing to lose. That's exactly what it's like. But one last thing I want to say about this, because there's not really too much to say except for congrats to Freddie Freeman, is did you think Will Smith's pitch was intentional the night before?
Personal opinion, I would probably go with yes. I mean, he the last time Soto hit a home run off of him, he started barking at him around the bases. I mean, come on. Like,
I'm going to go, and I agree. I don't know. I'm like 60-40, but I'll go the 60 on no, simply because Will Smith has been so bad at closing games. Does he really want to put that added pressure on himself in like a pennant race?
I think he kind of might. I think he has that much. I think
I'm not saying that's why I said 60-40. I'm leaning to 60% no. What I think made it bad, regardless whether it was intentional or not, is the fact that he hits him with a 94-mile-per-hour fastball in kind of an uncomfortable spot. Like, it almost looked like close to his ribs. And he immediately walks towards him and starts barking at him. That's what made it look bad. Or walks towards him like ready to fight. That's what makes it look bad. Even if it's not intentional or not, that's just ridiculous. And I swear, I mean, Will Smith really knows how to get on Braves fans' bad side. I've never seen anything like it. I think he's more hated than Kevon Smith. I really think he is. Kevon Smith had his moment, and like, yes, I hated that dude. And I don't really hate Will Smith personally, but damn, man, like, he pisses everybody off. Like, everything he does, from blowing games to throwing sissy fits on the mound about old school baseball that no one gives a shit about. It's just like, dude, you really could not find more ways to piss everybody off on this fan base.
Yeah, and with the Braves, I was really glad we were finally getting away from like that, like, oh, play the, like, like, no disrespect to Brian McCann, but like Brian McCann blocking home plate, Chris Johnson trying to fight Jose Fernandez, RIP. Like, I was looking forward to getting away from that, and like now that we have Acuna and Albies and guys who are like saucy and have fun, we're all like, yeah, like do whatever you want, and then like that just immediately just like turns right back around, and it's like, okay, like we're not the baseball cops, stop.
No, yeah, I hate it. I mean, that all needs to be eliminated from baseball. We need to get this beaming shit eliminated from baseball. These unwritten rules that are so stupid. All that shit can go. I love watching people. I loved what Soto did after he hit that home run. He hits a 462-foot bomb off of Richard Rodriguez and blows a kiss to the bullpen. And that's beautiful. That's what baseball is all about. You want to hit me? Whether it's on purpose or not, it doesn't really matter. Like I just hit a 462-foot bomb off of you.
And then you know what? If you come in and strike him out, you can blow him a kiss back.
Yeah,
like that's fun.
Yes.
Like
well, yes.
yeah.
I hope tonight's game ends with Will Smith versus Juan Soto, 3-2 game, runners on. He strikes out Juan Soto and he blows him a damn kiss. I hope that's exactly how it ends because that's
I'll probably like him a lot more.
And then it should end there. But though I don't need to see no one needs to get beamed after that. That's not showing people up. That's competition. Exactly. Like think about it's ridiculous that people take things too seriously, and then you have the power of throwing a 98-mile-per-hour fastball to a defensive player. Like, man, you're a real tough guy. Like that's what I don't get about the whole beaming people. It's like that's like the wussiest little thing. Like you're gonna throw a 98-mile-per-hour fastball at some defenseless player. Like, nice job, bro. It's like punching someone when he's not looking. It's like it's the dumbest thing ever. So I could never see a guy get beamed again, unless it's a Marlin, because they all deserve to get beamed for how many times they've beamed Ronald Acuna. But I mean, this stuff is so ridiculous, and yeah, I mean, hopefully this is the last we see of it. Hopefully we don't see anything tonight. I think it's all put in the bag because of the way Freddie Freeman handled it. But Will Smith's got to stop with that shit. Like I don't need to see that anymore.
Who's starting tonight?
That guy can throw a 99 at your head if you need it.
I don't think he's going to go out there and be like, I got to get somebody. I
don't think the Braves. I don't really think the Braves hold any grudges. I think they understand. When Will Smith, just because of like the kind of encounters they've had in the past, when Will Smith hits them with 0 out or 1 out and the base is empty in the ninth, that might add a little intent behind it, and he could be lying to us. So. If they're not going to go out there and fight for Ronnie, they shouldn't go out there and fight for Will Smith. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, we can both agree on that.
But they're not going to go out there and like throw at heads because of Ronald Acuna. There's no way they're going to do that for Will Smith. So, and like I said, they don't want to get in this in the last game of the season with the Nationals. It's swept under the rug. I don't think we'll see anything. But obviously, it's something that we'll look after.
And I mean, think about like you think wants to get suspended after he just missed 4.5 months with a broken hand? I don't think so.
No. I definitely don't think it'll come from If something happens, it'll happen later in the game where it's like they're up 6-1 or down 6-1, and maybe they throw AJ Minter in there for a 99-mile-per-hour. No, I don't imagine. The Braves are just not in the position where they need to be wasting arms at this point. They don't need any suspensions. They don't need any fights. They don't need any more pitches thrown at their players. This should be over, and there's really nothing else to talk about it. But two things that were more important in last games, more important than all that crazy crap, were Touki Toussaint and Drew Smiley both pitched in that game, and they were, for the better part, awful. I mean, Touki only gave up 1 hit and gave up 1 run coming off a home run, 2 runs, but 1 earned. But he walked 4, no control, was out after 3 innings and 65 pitches. Luckily, Jacob Webb saved him in the 4th, coming in with nobody out and 2 men on. But yeah, these guys they've been giving opportunities to be members of this rotation. And I kind of wonder where either of them fall as you look at a potential playoff roster, because I don't think either of them should be starting again, as much as I love Touki.
I mean, in the regular season, yeah. And this is just me, just the Braves just mush in between my ears. Kyle Wright threw 7 innings of 1-run ball last night.
Bro, I'm ready to see. I wrote about Kyle Mueller, but I wasn't even thinking about Wright. I know Wright's been pitching really well in Gwinnett. I wouldn't mind seeing either of those guys. I mean, you have 28-man rosters up here for a reason. So I definitely think 1 or 2 of them will come up. And I wouldn't mind giving Tukey another chance. I still believe in him, but I'd actually like to see Tukey come out of the bullpen. He's got great stuff. I think he could be a one-inning guy, and that could be where he lies for the rest of his career. He may just
Well,
not be a starter.
you think about replacing Chris Martin next year, because Chris Martin will be replaced. Please,
Yeah.
That seems like a logical fit, and I think it could be good for him. I think it help his confidence too.
Yeah, I mean, Tukey pitched in multiple playoff games out of the bullpen. I think it was against the Dodgers. I don't think it was against the Reds. I think it was against the Dodgers in 2018, but he did pretty well. So he's definitely got the stuff out of there. It's clear that he has a little more confidence in his command and stuff like that. Last night didn't show it, but let's talk about Drew Smiley. I mean, what the hell is this guy's role going forward? He's not a starter. They bring him in the eighth. He gives up a run on 3 hits. It's lucky it wasn't more. He got a hard hit double play. It could have been way worse. I mean, what is this guy? Is he the Josh Tomlin now? Does he even have a spot on the playoff roster if tomorrow we're in the playoffs?
I would say probably, but that's not how I would do it. But that's the thing, man. It's like it's so frustrating because sometimes it feels like Brian Snitker's just waving the white flag. You bring in Smiley in the 8th inning, and I tweeted out, I was like, how do we really think this is going to go? Not even 45 seconds later, he gives up a run. And I'm like, what? Like, you quitting. Like, pretty much. Like, I understand it's, you can't throw your best guys every single day, but come on. Like, there's a time and place to use him. And that's the problem I've had with Snitker for so long. There's a time and place for everybody. Maybe you use Drew Smiley when you're up 6 or down 6. Not in the 8th inning of a 1-run game. And we had the same problems with AJ Minter, which AJ Minter's figured it out, but he had to go down to Gwinnett to do it.
Yeah, I had several issues, no surprise, with his bullpen management yesterday. As much as I like Richard Rodriguez,
does not need to be facing Juan Soto.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's a 94-mile-per-hour fastball primarily guy. I mean, guess who crushes fastballs, especially up in the zone? Nobody does it better than Juan Soto. And that's where Richard Rodriguez lives, and boom. I mean, it's like clockwork, but it's crazy that we all know this and our manager doesn't. That's all I have to say. Because these things, like on paper, bringing Richard Rodriguez in there isn't a dumbass move. But if you just think past what's on paper, Juan Soto crushes high fastballs, which is all Richard Rodriguez throws. Why is he in there in that situation, especially when he had Luke Jackson warming up with him? And then on top of that, he already has Luke Jackson warming up, which what did Peter Gammons call him? Is that a hump? That's a dry hump. What did Peter Gammons call it? Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. He dry humping his relievers.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he dry humps Luke Jackson and then brings in a 1-run game, Drew Smiley. I mean, what in the hell is that? I mean, those are two just decisions that make no sense. And it's Brian Snitker, man. I mean, the guy is truly an idiot, and he outdoes himself every day. If you look at any of these decisions past what's on paper, he has no idea what he's doing. He is just out there pulling feathers. I don't even know.
I really I keep going back to this comparison. Dude, he is Dan Quinn. He's like, my guys are going to beat this guy. Like, no matter what, my guy's going to go out there one-on-one and he's going to win.
Yeah.
There's just no strategy to it. Like, it drives me insane.
He's like, nah, Rodriguez has been great for me. Like, he is going to throw that fastball past Juan Soto. No one's ever been able to do it throughout their entire careers, especially if they're only throwing 94. But Rodriguez, that's my dude. Come on.
Yeah, no, that's just such a Dan Quinn attitude. It really is. Like, it's insane.
And I guess it's that old school brotherhood, and maybe that works in the locker room. I mean, that's why people love Brian Snitker. That's why people love Dan Quinn. But hey, buddy, there's a certain point. It's like, dude, you're costing us games, and it's once a week. It's once a week that it's just like mind-boggling decisions, man.
Once a week at minimum.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, dude. If you just look past the paper, I mean, those are 2 terrible decisions, and you might have cost them another game. At least you cost the Braves having a chance. Like, they had a chance to win that game, and you just made it harder.
You just mailed it in. You just waved the white flag. But anyways,
exactly.
Yeah.
Like you tweeted. But enough with the bad news. We did have some great things happen. Soler, I think he had 2 or 3 hits yesterday. Duvall hits another homer. He now leads the National League in RBIs. He's tied his career high with 33 homers this season. And Eddie Rosario hit a homer, and that guy, I don't know. Let's see what he's hitting since he's come over. It has to be good, I feel like.
He had a triple that game that I went to.
Yeah, he's got a couple homers. He's hitting 269 with 615 slugging, 949 OPS. I mean, geez, Alex Anthopoulos, if he gets this Freddie deal done, and you're looking towards 2022, and he somehow figures out this Marcell Ozuna situation. I mean, you've got to give this guy major props. If he gets this Freddie deal done and can figure out what to do with Marcell Ozuna, and maybe re-signs Adam Duvall, maybe brings back a Jock Peterson or a Eddie Rosario, or a Jorge Soler. He's done a fantastic job. I mean, you got to give him an A+ for how he's been, at least since the trade deadline, or from the trade deadline on.
Yeah, and I mean, you look even by adding Jock Peterson a few weeks before the trade deadline. I mean, there was still a bit of the team had a little bit more spunk to them. There was a little more life to them.
Life to the team, and I mean, without a doubt.
Yeah, and even Jock may have not been putting up crazy numbers, but got a home run here, a double here. I love having these guys here, man. And I understand like Ozuna potentially being back, Ronald potentially being back. Maybe not spots for everybody, but yeah, I'd love to keep all of them. I understand the money's got to be right, but I'd love to hang on to all those guys.
Yeah, I mean, and we're totally forgetting, which is crazy. Christian Pash and Drew Waters are in AAA, and Christian Pash is dominating AAA right now.
Red hot. I don't know if you saw my tweet. He has an OPS over 1,000 this month, and he had about a 950 last month, and he has 7 doubles and 4 home runs over his last 27 games. Like he absolutely hosed somebody at home the other night.
Oh my god, that was nasty. The guy was out by 20
slide.
feet. He was out by 20 feet. I mean, the guy's an absolute stud. I still believe in Christian Pash, or Pache, but if you don't believe in him, just take a look at what Austin Riley. He had to have some stints in AAA. Dude, this is what happens to these young guys. That's why I haven't given up on Kyle Wright. But dude, Christian Pache could easily be the starting center fielder for Atlanta, and you could easily have Ronald Acuna there. And hey, let's assume Ozuna's not on the team. You got Adam Duvall that I think you should definitely bring back. Bring back Eddie Rosario. Drew Waters is almost up. I mean, you have so many outfielders here. That's why, again, talking about Ozuna, just get rid of them. Get rid of the headache. If there's a way to get rid of the headache, do it, because you just have so many guys that you don't need this. Adam Duvall can replace his production for, a fifth of the salary. Acuna is a beast. I still believe in Pache, and I still believe in Waters. And, bring Rosario as a bench bat, or retain Jock as a bench bat.
I mean, even if there's a DH, you were talking about an extra guy too. So
yeah, I mean, there's so many guys the Braves have in the outfield now. And this Jorge Soler guy. I mean, how the hell was this dude hitting 192 over 100 games?
I don't believe that.
He was hitting 192 before he picked him up with only 13 homers and 34 games with the Braves, which is a large enough sample size to be like, this guy can hit the ball. Like, he has good at bats. I mean, he has a 376 OBP, a 287 average, 911 OPS. He's hit 9 bombs in 34 games.
He's walking too. I've seen him walk plenty of times.
Yes, he has 19 walks in 34 games. It blows my mind that this guy was hitting 192 at any point in his career. I mean, he's a career 246 hitter, but I mean, 192, that's just shocking.
Yeah, it's just night and day, and I'm happy we got the day,
Yeah, and then that's this. I mean, credit to Anthopoulos. I mean, he said in the interview when they acquired him, hey man, we see something in him. That was a guy nobody was thinking was going to get traded. He had a negative 0.7 WAR. Nobody saw that guy getting traded, and he's been the biggest acquisition out of all of them. I mean, him and Duvall have combined for 19 bombs. I mean, that's crazy.
I was going to say Duvall is, but mainly because Duvall doesn't play for the Marlins anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that's facts. That's facts. But it truly is crazy what all of these guys have done. And I mean, Rosario, this guy was struggling in Cleveland, 685 OPS, but he's a career 780 OPS hitter, and that's looks like the guy we got. So
you gave him up for a guy you were going to cut.
For Pablo, you gave him for Pablo Sandoval. Yeah. I have no idea what the hell that deal was, but hey, one man's trash, we'll take him. It's just crazy. I mean, these all look like A+ deals. It looks like the worst deal right now is Richard Rodriguez.
And he's given up 2 runs since he's been here?
Yeah, he's been giving up 2 runs, which always crazy. I think he has a 1.6 ERA or something like that. Yet he has a negative 0.1 F4. How is that true? I know he's not striking out a lot of guys, and I don't know how they calculate F4, but
I feel like relievers are slow. I feel like relievers are really slow to accumulate it, and that bad stretch he had probably took him down a little bit.
Well, they definitely are slow. Well, this is since he's been acquired from the Braves, but F4 is weird. F4 will be have the best reliever at 2, yet B-WAR will have the best reliever at 6. So I don't really understand. I don't know. Too much analytics for me. But, I test all these guys have been a big additions. And Man, it's exciting. We got a chance, and hopefully retain him. I mean, we're not even talking about Soler, but I'd love to have him as a DH or left fielder, whoever you feel is better out there. But
I feel like Soler has a rocket, so I mean they would probably keep him in left.
he's
But
huge.
Rosario can play a lot of positions.
Yeah, he's huge. Soler is 6'4", 235. We still don't know how many angry Jake and Chase, or how many Jakes and Chases it takes to beat up one angry Jorge Soler. But I'm starting to think we underestimated him after the way he's playing.
I think so too.
So last thing I wanted to talk about before we wrap this episode up, Jacob Webb. He comes in, as I said, for Tuki Desant with 2 men on and nobody out. And he gets 3 guys out, gives up 1 walk to load the bases, but gets out of the jam without any damage. Now in his last 10 innings, he hasn't given up a run. You're talking about a Chris Martin replacement. Right now he's on the IL. I mean, the Braves need a Chris Martin replacement right now. Tuki, maybe that guy, but Jacob Webb, over 67.1 major league innings, has a 2 ERA flat. That's basically a season-long sample size.
Yeah, and I've tried my hardest not to give up on Jacob Webb. He's had some bad moments, and I really thought after he hit Pilar in the face, I was like, oh no, like this guy is going to be a head case now. But I'm glad to see him bounce back. I mean, I think Jacob Webb has caught a lot of flack, like really, really unfairly, but I feel like that happens to anybody that pitches out of the Braves bullpen. He's been solid. Like, I mean, let's be honest. The guy's been nothing but solid. Yeah, he's had a few bad outings. He's a reliever. I mean, it happens.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I mean, we've never seen Jacob Webb on Twitter, but I don't know how a guy like Luke Jackson, who's very active on Twitter, does it. I mean, think about all the shit that man's been given over the last 3 years, and he's constantly just tweeting funny stuff, ignoring it. I mean, like that would paralyze me, on the mound, thinking about all the shit that people are talking about me. I mean, there wasn't a day that Luke Jackson wasn't slandered by 500 Braves fans on Twitter. And there's no way
500 is a generous estimation.
Yeah, I mean, he was getting killed. The guy would come in and save a game, but give up a run, and everyone would shit on him. It'd be like, "Why'd you make me sweat that out? Oh my God, you suck!" It was crazy. I don't know how he does that. But Jacob Webb, as long as he stays off Twitter, I think he'll be just fine. He's pitched really well, and I think he's going to be a big piece to the. A lot of people were surprised when he was one of the 28 men, or one of the 2 extra roster spots added to the roster when the rosters expanded. But now you can see why, and I definitely think he's going to be a piece of this team moving forward, and I think he will be on the playoff roster if the Braves make it.
Yeah, and it's crazy to look back. Like if I had told you back in June, I'd be like, yeah, the Braves are in first place. AJ Minter and Jacob Webb are on the roster. Everybody'd be like, yeah, you need to take your meds.
Yeah, it's been good, and we got 3 weeks left. It's kind of crazy that the season's already almost over. It feels like just yesterday we were in the NLCS, and our season was ending. Yeah. It really does.
Yeah.
But we'll be back next week. Braves up 2.5 games. We got some big series against some wimpy teams. I think we got the Marlins, and then who else? The Rockies coming home to Truist Park over the next 6 days.
They're so bad. They have like 15 wins on the road all season. We got to capitalize on that.
We should be able to capitalize on both of those teams, and hopefully when we get back, we'll have a better idea of if the Braves are going to have a stranglehold on this division. Because if they can win, 6 out of their next 7, 5 out of their next 7, they should have a 3.5, 4.5 game lead with a couple weeks remaining. But if they don't, that end stretch is difficult. I mean, they go out west after that and they play the Padres, Giants, and Diamondbacks, and then they come back home for the final 6 versus the Phillies and Mets. So they really need to make some ground. So the next time we'll definitely be talking about that, what we have to expect down the stretch.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like these are in baseball, you're never just gonna, it's not like Alabama against Mercer. Like they're gonna wipe them 100 times out of 100. Like you're still gonna have some losses, but these are the games like you can't afford to lose this game tonight. You really can't.
No, not when kind of your backs are against the wall. So hopefully they take care of business. But again, guys, thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week with episode 5, 6, whatever. Who knows?